Please see below for a copy of a letter to Nick Slape, Chief Executive Officer, Co-Operative Bank after an incident with the Co-Operative Bank today. A copy is going by recorded delivery post to Nick's office. PDF version. Co-Operative Bank web copy. Download. Text version. Mr. Nick Slape, Chief Executive Officer. The Co-Operative Bank. 1 Balloon Street, Manchester. M604EP. February 23, 2023. Dear Mr. Slape. Open letter for general publication. My refs, XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX. I write following an issue earlier today in which one of your learned colleagues was playing fast and loose with my personal information in a manner befitting a banking scam, and another of your colleagues and apparently their line managers simply could not care less about the situation. Your CRM should have detailed notes, and if they do not match reality, I will be taking further action. Before I detail these events, I will put on record my dissatisfaction that the Co-Operative Bank appeared to be heading back to the days of the Reverend Paul Flowers, crystal meth and rent boys. Wholly unacceptable. More recently today I received an email from you asking me to donate via yourselves to a Turkey earthquake appeal. You should spend time making sure your own house is in good order first before asking your customers to donate to something. As a customer who stood by the Co-Operative Bank during the Reverend Flowers debacle, today's activities by your bank are not just an insult but a slap in the face too. At the end of this letter is a subject access request notice. This letter serves as formal notice in the data protection regulations, and the subject access request notice is to be actioned in compliance with the relevant acts of law. Let us start at the beginning. This morning at 11:27 I received a call from Bazaar allegedly on the telephone number 0116-253-2892. Bazaar was offering me a free account upgrade. He was over-friendly, under-professional, and did not seek to correctly identify me or engage in any know-your-customer activity. He wanted to upgrade my account over the telephone, which I believe is actually impossible. Smelling a rat, I ended the call, and Bazaar was rather dejected at this from the sounds of things. I then telephoned your central number, one that I trust and have used on a number of occasions. 0345-721-2212. I spoke to a lady with a Scottish accent but could not get her name correctly. I felt she was equally unprofessional and seemed to lack a basic savoir-faire with basic banking procedures and the banking code. She informed me that the call was being oversighted and could offer no explanation as to what that was. She put me on hold to speak to her manager on a number of occasions but could not evidence that conversation in reality. A very poor show. What is equally and if not more concerning is that I could overhear her colleagues discussing fellow customers in great depth. She seemed to think that it was okay that I could have in effect been scammed by one of her colleagues. Very laissez-faire and not what I expect from my bankers. Her line manager apparently refused to be spoken to. I do not believe that she asked the question of her line manager. I asked for details of your senior GDPR officer and yourself. She did not know your name or the name of your GDPR representative. It is very poor show that someone does not know the name of their chief executive officer. That goes for any member of staff in any organization. She said that Bazaar would be given advice. Bloody hell. Is advice the best you can do? Do you not have proper control over your staff? Or can they do they like, when they like? Are we actually still dealing with a culture of crystal meth and rent boys at the bank? Certainly your representative was not what I could call thorough, knowledgeable, or professional, but at least she did go through security, which I suppose is a small blessing. It would appear that someone was representing the Co-Operative Bank and had access to the systems, and apparently Bazaar left a note on the CRM. As someone who spent 17 years in IT and a fair bit of it around banks and banking processes, I am more than flabbergasted by your organization's behavior today, and this, as you will imagine, has left me considering your competitors. I further spent more time in financial services and I know the rules. Clearly, here are 3 members of staff that you need to take strong action with as a matter of some urgency. If they were working for me, they would have been dismissed within minutes, and trust me when I say they would have trouble getting employment elsewhere. It is clearly not on, and I require you to ensure my personal information is kept and utilized in a more secure fashion than it has clearly been up until now. This a shocking state of affairs? You need to take personal action on this one. You say on your website, we're the bank you can hold to account. We're the Co-Operative Bank. Today I am holding you to account on this matter and it needs to be resolved swiftly. Time is of the essence. I require this issue to be resolved to my satisfaction by yourself only. There is no passing the buck and I will only communicate with you in writing only and will not discuss this with any other member of the cooperative bank team whatsoever. In view of the seriousness of the matter, this letter is being publicly published at my website https://cork9000.wordpress.com- very personal information. Subject: Access Request Notice Part. I am making this request for access to personal data pursuant to Article 15 of the General Data Protection Regulation. I'm concerned that your company's information practices may be putting my personal information at undue risk of exposure or in fact has breached its obligation to safeguard my personal information. I would like you to be aware at the outset that I anticipate the reply to my request within 1 month as required under Article 12, failing which I will be forwarding my inquiry with a letter of complaint to the appropriate data protection authority. Please advise as to the following. 1. Please confirm to me whether or not my personal data is being processed. If it is, please provide me with the categories of personal data you have about me in your files and databases. In particular, please tell me what you know about me in your information systems, whether or not contained in databases, and including email, documents on your networks, or voice or other media that you may store. B. Additionally, please advise me in which countries my personal data is stored or accessible from. In case you make use of cloud services to store or process my data, please include the countries in which the servers are located where my data are or were, in the past 12 months, stored. C. Please provide me with a copy of, or access to, my personal data that you have or are processing. 2. Please provide me with a detailed accounting of the specific uses that you have made, are making, or will be making of my personal data. 3. Please provide a list of all third parties with whom you have, or may have, shared my personal data. If you cannot identify with certainty the specific third parties to whom you have disclosed my personal data, please provide a list of third parties to whom you may have disclosed my personal data. B. Please also identify which jurisdictions that you have identified in 1B above that these third parties with whom you have or may have shared my personal data, from which these third parties have stored or can access my personal data. Please also provide insight in the legal grounds for transferring my personal data to these jurisdictions. Where you have done so, or are doing so, on the basis of appropriate safeguards, please provide a copy. C. Additionally, I would like to know what safeguards have been put in place in relation to these third parties that you have identified in relation to the transfer of my personal data. 4. Please advise how long you store my personal data, and if retention is based upon the category of personal data, please identify how long each category is retained. 5. If you are additionally collecting personal data about me from any source other than me, please provide me with all information about their source, as referred to in Article 14 of the GDPR. 6. If you are making automated decisions about me, including profiling, whether or not on the basis of Article 22 of the GDPR, please provide me with information concerning the basis for the logic in making such automated decisions, and the significance and consequences of such processing. 7. I would like to know whether or not my personal data has been disclosed inadvertently by your company in the past, or as a result of a security or privacy breach. If so, please advise as to the following details of each and any such breach. A general description of what occurred. 2. The date and time of the breach, or the best possible estimate. 3. The date and time the breach was discovered. 4. The source of the breach, either your own organization or a third party to whom you have transferred my personal data. B. Details of my personal data that was disclosed. I. Your company's assessment of the risk of harm to myself, as a result of the breach. 7. A description of the measures taken or that will be taken to prevent further unauthorized access to my personal data. 8. Contact information so that I can obtain more information and assistance in relation to such a breach, and 9. Information and advice on what I can do to protect myself against any harms, including identity theft and fraud. B. If you are not able to state with any certainty whether such an exposure has taken place, through the use of appropriate technologies, please advise what mitigating steps you have taken, such as I. Encryption of my personal data. 2. Data minimization strategies, or 3. Anonymization or pseudonymizing. 4. Any other means. 8. I would like to know your information policies and standards that you follow in relation to the safeguarding of my personal data, such as whether you adhere to ISO 27001 for information security, and more particularly, your practices in relation to the following. A. Please inform me whether you have backed up my personal data to tape, disk, or other media, and where it is stored and how it is secured, including what steps you have taken to protect my personal data from loss or theft, and whether this includes encryption. B. Please also advise whether you have in place any technology which allows you with reasonable certainty to know whether or not my personal data has been disclosed, including but not limited to the following. I. Intrusion detection systems. 2. Firewall technologies. 3. Access and identity management technologies. 4. Database audit and/or security tools, or B. Behavioral analysis tools, log analysis tools, or audit tools. 9. Regarding employees and contractors, please advise as to the following. A. What technologies or business procedures do you have to ensure that individuals within your organization will be monitored to ensure that they do not deliberately or inadvertently disclose personal data outside your company, through email, webmail, or instant messaging, or otherwise? B. Have you had any circumstances in which employees or contractors have been dismissed and/or been charged under criminal laws for accessing my personal data inappropriately, or if you are unable to determine this, of any customers, in the past 12 months? C. Please advise as to what training and awareness measures you have taken to ensure that employees and contractors are accessing and processing my personal data in conformity with the General Data Protection Regulation. Yours sincerely, Mr. C. Guinness.